Hello, my name is Lena Spaho. I am founder of the blog Inside the Walls and Inside the Walls and Beyond Facebook page. I am an advocate for prison reform and I have a master's in clinical and mental health counseling. Today, I am joined by Ricky Gonzalez. Ricky lives in the small border town of Del Rio at the Texas-Mexico border. In July of 2021, he met and fell in love with Raquel Esquivel. She is fondly known as Kelly. Kelly had just been released from federal prison in April of 2021 under the CARES Act, after serving 11 years of her 15-year sentence. Ricky watched Kelly struggle to readjust to society after her long prison sentence. He watched as Kelly reunited with her 3 children and began working as a bookkeeper at T-Bar Drilling, Inc. On May the 13th, 2021, Kelly was picked up by the US Marshal Service at the direction of the BOP and taken to the Val Verde Correctional Facility in Del Rio, where she remains today. Kelly is approximately 6 months pregnant. Ricky is extremely worried about her and his baby. The BOP has violated her from the CARES Act due to what it claims was Kelly not calling in to the halfway house as she traveled from job site to job site for her job. However, Kelly was able to produce phone records that prove she did call in, and also eyewitnesses, including her boss, who witnessed Kelly and heard her making the calls and talking with the halfway house. It would appear that the staff at the dismissed charity halfway house in Del Rio, Texas, have failed to document the phone calls in their log, and instead of admitting to their mistake, have allowed Kelly to be violated by the BOP instead. Please welcome my guest, Ricky Gonzalez, today to the show. Hello, Ricky.
Hello.
I'm so sorry that we're having to talk under such, challenging times for you. Can you kind of introduce yourself to my listening audience and also tell them how you came to fall in love with Raquel, fondly known to you as Kelly?
Yes, Kelly. Okay, well, the name is Ricky Gonzalez. Formerly, I'm also originally from Del Rio, as is Kelly, small city. Moved away from Del Rio about 19 years old. So I was away for about a good 17, 18 years before I had a calling to come back home. Came back home to be a caregiver for my grandparents. Was in the area for about a year, just doing my job, providing for the grandparents. When through a mutual friend, I came across Kelly. Instantly connected with her through her story of her struggle and how she was able to overcome it. And just by speaking to her, you wouldn't even know that she spent a day in prison. Just by her faith and her resilience. And I guess that's what kind of drove us together. And that's how we were able to just build our love, was basically really off of our faith. A lot of our conversations were just of the Lord and how he's in our path, and kind of are both of us trying to start over in life. And I guess that's what really kind of kicked this whole thing off.
Yes. So, you and Kelly have been dating since July, told me, of 2021.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
you're now engaged, and she is now pregnant with your child. And so she has been taken back by the US Marshals at the direction of the BOP and the dismissed charity halfway house. Can you tell my listening audience kind of the timeline of events that led to that, and what exactly transpired that had her being picked up by the US Marshal Service and taken back? And she's headed back to prison, as far as, we have our understanding, or your understanding, is she has been given a sanction by the BOP that she is on her way back to prison. They took 27 good days, and we do know that her out date has been changed on the BOP website, and also that that they took 180 days of her ability to ever qualify for halfway house again. However, since her out date is now March the 1st of 22, Ricky, you disappeared.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
We know that more than likely they're just planning on keeping her there till March of 22. Now, I know that you reached out to me by email after you did a desperate search on the internet trying to find information to help Kelly. and you came across the, you told me the article that Walt Pablo had done on me in Forbes magazine when the BOP retaliated on me earlier this year and took me back for speaking out against them. Tell me about your search on the web, on the internet, trying to find information and how hard it is to find something, and also anything else you found. And then we're going to go into, after that, if you will, the events that led to Kelly going back.
Yes. I guess it was just out of desperation, like you said, just trying to find anything I could find relating to the BOP. And had no idea it was just a separate entity versus state and local county, the way they handle different procedures. So just that alone was a challenge itself, just trying to get any kind of information, who can I get in contact with? And then once you do get to find out where she's at, when she was moved to the correctional facility, they have guidelines, federal guidelines, that were even giving me problems to even try to send her money or trying to put money on phones to be able to get in touch with her. So everything was really about trying to see what I can find as far as BOP. And this was a day in, day out search, downloading PDF files as far as their discipline program, their procedures, their policies. So then I started like, well, let me just Google and see if there's anything else that's relating to this case, or just cases that are something similar to what's transpiring, because it seemed like there was obviously something else going on, or just somebody I can at least get in contact with. I was able to find a Forbes article, your story, which definitely inspired me and also got me to think that maybe there's a chance I can get a hold of you, or just maybe even a hold of somebody that was something in a similar situation, to where I'll be able to get some type of clarity or just answers of exactly what's going on. Because there was a period where I didn't even hear from her for a week. The first 7 days, I didn't have no contact with her at all. Neither did her family. We didn't have any way of knowing her whereabouts, if she was okay. Obviously, my child is definitely my concern with her as well. So I know that we had a doctor's appointment set up the week after, so she had to end up missing that. So there was just a lot of concerns that were raised. So therefore, I was just desperately just trying to find any answers I can. And I came across your story.
Well, I know that in our conversations, you have told me how taxing and how mentally challenging this has been, not only for you as someone who Kelly is pregnant by, and she's your fiance, and y'all are planning on getting married, but also you've described, and I did talk with her sister that day, the anguish the family's gone through. And I also talked with Kelly's boss, who has spoke up on her behalf before the BOP took her back, to verify that Kelly did in fact call in. Kelly does, I know, have phone records that prove she called in. And I heard how distressed even the boss's voice was, and in disbelief that there is someone out there, an inmate reestablishing family ties, doing what they're supposed to, working, has been home for a year, and then the BOP would just come and do this. So talk to me not only about the mental anguish that all of you have experienced in this situation, but also let's go into the details of how Kelly came to be taken back by the BOP.
Okay. Well, yes. I mean, like, it all kind of ties in together as far as with the mental anguish, because being out for the year and just definitely being a part of her life, I was able to see that there was always kind of issues as far as her trying to get to the halfway house to relay her whereabouts, or just kind of any information. But she was always a model citizen when it came to that. Any UAs that were called for, at no matter what time, hours, she was always able to get to them, get them taken care of. So no prior incidents before this. Then all of a sudden, May 10th came. We get a phone call. She's heading home. I'm going to call you when I get home, our normal routine. She's like, let me call to let them know I'm on my way home. She'll call them when she gets home. But in between that call, she received a call stating that she needed to report to the halfway house. The original statement from her that she had let me know was that they had told her to come in. Apparently, there was saying that she was somewhere that she wasn't supposed to, and that she didn't call in, and to go ahead and bring in some clothes and hygiene, that she'll be staying there for a few days until it gets resolved. So
now that was on May the 10th, correct?
May 10th,
May
yes,
the 10th of 21.
2021, about 4 o'clock. And they told her she had until 6 o'clock. So it was a real tight window. And being that it's a small city, it's still not, it's still a short period of time. And especially with a dramatic call like that, especially not knowing exactly where this goes.
Well, you
So
got to get together your clothes, your hygiene, like you said.
yes,
She had to go
yes,
home and just get everything together
everything,
to
everything
go
together.
report, and they told her to come and stay at the halfway house.
Yes. So I instantly drove over to her house to meet her there. And that was the first time I actually caught wind of what they family probably went through the first time this went happened, because it was just nothing but tears and just brokenness, and you could see it in them. And I guess that's when I realized just exactly what this whole situation does to family members and does
Absolutely.
to loved ones, because her children, who she just reunited with, were distraught, kind of taken off guard by this whole thing. Her mom, her dad, I saw them all. I saw everybody say their goodbyes, not knowing how long this goodbye is going to be, bringing up maybe old memories of saying goodbye the
Yes.
first time. And so it was definitely uh, um, a hard moment, a hard moment. And then also
How
for
old are her
Kelly,
children? I know you told me, I think 17, 15, and 12. Is that how old the children
yeah,
are?
11, about to be 12.
11. Okay,
Yes, yes.
17, 15, and 11. So still minors, just reunited with their mom in the
Just
last
reunited.
year after
Yeah,
she was gone 11 years from their
11 years.
life.
Yes.
And so this is
And
challenging for them.
and that was, and granted, she was still trying to reassert herself into that family lifestyle with her children, and you can still see that there was some uphill battles that she was dealing with, but she was giving it her best. And I know that her family was definitely excited to have her here and just trying to readjust to family life in itself. And then to all of a sudden have it taken back, it was definitely a day I will never forget, a day I'll never forget. And
How long had Kelly worked for the T-bar drilling? Because I talked with I think her name is Hutton, Luann Hutton.
Hutto,
Hutto, Luann Hutto.
Hutto,
She
yeah.
spoke with me on the phone earlier this week, and she was planning on trying to get on this video today, but I know she's had something come up with her health today, so we hopefully at a later date maybe we can get her on. But I do know that she told me she did submit a statement. Her and a co-worker of Kelly's submitted a statement to the dismissed halfway house prior to Kelly being taken back to by the marshals, and that she did let them know that she was in the vehicle with Kelly back in March on the dates that are in question, and that she heard Kelly every time they moved from job site to job site. Kelly did check in and talk to someone. I know Ms. Hutto told me that she felt that some of the staff at the dismissed charity halfway house were very ugly to Kelly and rude acting to her. She did tell me that she adores Kelly. Kelly has been one of the most honest employees she's ever had. She is more than happy to speak out on behalf of Kelly because she feels like what is happening is certainly wrong. And she, has information and has given information to the BOP about Kelly doing what she was supposed to. Yet, and Kelly, I know you told me Kelly provided her phone records, and I've looked at the phone records. You've supplied them to me, and the calls are obviously there on these dates that the BOP says she did not call. There's a call to the every time she moves, you can see the calls. You can see that they went on for a period of seconds, minutes. So it's not just, it's not like no one answered. These calls were answered, and you can see that there was a time link, a short time frame, but where she checked in. And I know from being on home confinement myself, when you check in, it's only like, hey, I made it, and they hang up. So the phone calls don't go on for very long anyway. I do know that after looking at those phone records, and I do know that you told me Kelly provided those along with the statements of Ms. Hutto and the other person, that the BOP still sanctioned Kelly as of June the 9th. Even though they didn't follow their policy and do it within the 15 days, she was required to be taken before a disciplinary hearing officer by the BOP's own inmate discipline program statement. So they violated their own policies. However, they found her guilty of something that they clearly had evidence she did not do, and even independent eyewitnesses. So, on May the 10th, you went over to her home. She's getting ready. It's a traumatic event for her children, her family, for you, everybody involved. I know exactly. So I know she went to the halfway house where they told her they were trying to work this incident report out with the BOP. No one gave her indication she was going back to prison. And they held her for 3 days. And then one morning just called her down and said, the marshal's here to take you back.
Exactly. Yes. And even the first incident report or that was given to her was not given to her to the next day. So even when she, upon arrival, still had no clue exactly as to what she was there for, was not given any notice until the next day, was given the incident report. And therefore she was able to gather those statements and those records to provide on the next day, which would have been the 12th, to apparently be resolved and not to be recommended for more punishment. But at the same time, that being that the shot that it was going to be going above to the BOP, that it was basically in their hands, but that they were going to send a message out. The next day was the last day we heard from her for a week.
Right. So the halfway house, the dismissed charity halfway house staff let her know, similar to the situation that happened with me, that the order came from the BOP to give me the incident report. The halfway house really, I don't think, wanted to. In fact, they told me in my case they didn't. And it sounds like a very similar situation in Kelly's case. But yet the BOP, who is over the halfway house, they're forcing the halfway house to do so. Now, let me back up a minute, because I do know Kelly had contact with the RRM in San Antonio, which is the BOP portion staff that is over the dismissed halfway house and other halfway houses in that district. And I do know she was pushing back a little bit on them about policy. And then the next day or so after that is when all this transpired and she was taken back. So it kind of sounds real familiar, because that's kind of where I was. I was pushing back on them a little bit because they were trying to prevent me from speaking out. And then the next thing, I'm taken back.
They would, like she said, they would reference her to one that, you're one that likes to ask questions. We heard about you. You like to ask questions. And I think that those statements like that was making her nervous throughout that process, because they weren't giving her concrete answers as to what the resolution would be or what's the next step in this process. And the next step actually ended up being her going back to the correctional facility.
Now they've got her in a place where she has no ability to get any type of paperwork needed for administrative remedy to appeal this. They did not take her, like we said earlier in this conversation, before the disciplinary hearing officer, which is better known as DHO. And that is clearly the process has been violated. Therefore, her civil rights have been violated. She was held. She did not get her hearing. They did not follow anything they were supposed to, yet she was sanctioned and is headed back to prison. I mean, what?
And see, and that's the whole part of this, is like, we're sitting back waiting for some type of answer, some type of clarity. And the first clarity that we get, or type of answer we get, is 3 weeks later, and it's a sanction saying that she's guilty without having any type of notification of a hearing, any type of 24-hour notice. I mean, nothing was given to her, just called up to the front, here's your paper, and now we're here where we're at right now. And I guess that's what's gotten, that's why I guess the desperation kicked in from just seeing how she was being treated in there. And obviously just the fact of her having with my child, I can definitely see that she was being I won't say deprived, but she wasn't able to get the type of access to her commissaries or nutrition that she needed for the child. So it was just a dramatic change to be out living, having the type of nutrition, having the type of plan, the type of visits that we had already set up with the doctor, to just automatically transition back into the incarceration part and not have any of these things. So definitely a mental part, mentally hard for her, I can imagine. And that's what just hurt my heart to the point where I just could not stop until I found something or some type of somebody that can help,
So I know you and I have talked about, in your search, you started seeing how the BOP had treated other inmates that were pregnant, specifically one certain inmate that they allowed to pass away that was COVID, the one that was 8 months pregnant. And I know you had found some other articles on other egregious acts by the BOP to pregnant inmates. And I know you told me this is of great concern to you, but I want you to have the shot here to tell my listening audience just how you're feeling on that end. Did I lose you? Ricky? Hello? Well, I'm going to give him a second and see if he can get back in here. I think he hit something and got cut off. Well, that is very unfortunate. So as you can see, the BOP is once again trying to circumvent the CARES Act, that Congress put into place after the coronavirus started up. You can see that here is a case of another inmate that is very close to getting off the ankle monitor, and who they have now decided to pick back up for, nothing. She basically has done nothing wrong. The BOP has found her falsely guilty and has taken her into custody. She is pregnant. There are health concerns. There are all kinds of issues here. And it's just, it's the BOP's way, I truly believe, to get head count back at the prisons. I see this is happening a whole lot in the South Central region. And that's the region I'm in and that Kelly's in. Okay, I believe that we're going to be able to get Ricky back on. Let's see if he comes back in, hopefully. Okay, there you go. Sorry. Okay, so we were going to let you tell the listening audience your concerns as far as, because of your research, your concerns about Kelly and the baby. And then we'll wrap this video up once we can get you to tell us what your concerns are.
Okay. Yes. Well, that was the actual case that I did read up on as well. With her and with the whole COVID and just the quarantine itself, it is definitely scary times right now. And I've read on other different incidents of the different pregnant women that were necessarily being housed different away from COVID patients that have or inmates that have already maybe been exposed to it. The nutritional part of it. I mean, the way I look at it is like, part of me is in there with her, and because of that, I desperately feel that it's kind of like a race against time in a sense, because the nutritional part, the part of if she happen to get transferred, is there something that can happen in transfer? Is there something that can happen in isolation? Is there something that can happen if she's gone to a certain facility that really didn't have the access or equipped to handle somebody pregnant, especially during these times? And I mean, just all that in general is what really has gotten me just really not even able to kind of concentrate or even think correctly,
I understand.
Yeah,
and it's so frustrating because you can't, like you said, you can't find the policy. It's hard to find anything. You can't find anybody that knows anything. The BOP blocks you. They won't tell your family anything. I know y'all have made calls to the halfway house, and the sister made a call to Region. They won't tell them anything. So it's very frustrating to the families that are out here trying to figure out how to help their loved one.
Yes. And like I said, everything we get turned away, and then they kind of maybe put you in a position to where you kind of question it, like, well, they should know why they're in there and they should know exactly what's going on, when they have no clues or no answers. So you kind of see, and I think they don't see that, but the turmoil leaves behind with the loved ones of Kelly, of what's going on and how come, and maybe she does, maybe this, and a lot of speculation for somebody that definitely does not deserve that, because we all know Kelly for the person that she is, and she's been a model citizen ever since she's been out. Never had any kind of incidents, no problems prior to this. And like you said, she was able to get all the information that she needed to provide to them to prove her whereabouts and to prove that this did not happen, and yet she was still taken. And we kind of have nowhere to go from this point forward, and it's just
so, you know, Director Carvajal is the director of the BOP currently. And if he was watching this video, do you have anything you would like to say to him or the BOP in general for what they're doing to Kelly?
I mean, I would just like maybe some sort of accountability for the actions that were taking place, and to somehow maybe to treat it on a little, give it a little bit more, or just her due process, really, just the opportunity to like with the hearing, you know, there was nothing that she could have done to even have witnesses, even have some type of representation, nothing to where they didn't give her an opportunity. I mean, just a fair chance. It's a fair chance to see that this allegation did not take place. She definitely was in the right, and she tried to do everything she can in her power to prove that, and yet she was still not given the opportunity, or not given the just due to be able to fight this or appeal or anything. You know, it was just an automatic, this is what it is, and now you're back in a place that you felt like you're already beyond. You had rehabilitated yourself to come out into the world. You already readjusted to life, reunited with your children, reunited with your family, was ready to start a new family. And unfortunately, yes. And I'm just—
So no accountability for the BOP. Even someone who hasn't been inside the walls can see that. You know, you've got this pegged correctly. There is no accountability.
And that's what we asked for. Yeah.
Congress, you know, enacted this law, the CARES Act, and the BOP is doing everything in their power not to follow Congress's wishes. They've done it from the very beginning, to not letting people out, all the way through now. We see a lot of people being violated for frivolous, you know, violations. And I know you and I talked about, we'll make this last point before we get off, that you had sent me a copy of Kelly's page out of her manual from the halfway house, which clearly states you would have had to have consistent violations before anything you would even have been taken back or violated. So they also violated the manual that she was given when she got out of rules to follow, because they didn't follow that either. So it's just it's an inconsistent system that looks for ways to punish people instead of help them succeed.
And another thing to that point was, you know, the inconsistency of it, because this report or this incident was in March, and yet she's taken in May, which is, you know, 2 months later. While in between that time, I know of many of times where she was called to the halfway house for UAs. So it wasn't like this happened last week and then they just, you know, now we're going to do this. There was a time period, and she was reporting as this was going on. So that's what we kind of say, like, if anything would have been brought up.
And not only that, we failed to let my listeners know she's actually been charged with escape. That's the charge. That's what she was sanctioned for.
That's what it was written up as.
Escape.
Yes, it was written up
Ricky,
as that.
You know, I'm sorry for what's going on with you and your family, with Kelly. You know, I'm here to help, and we're going to see what we can do to try to get the word out about this. This video is just part of what we're doing. And I really appreciate your braveness in coming forward today and talking and putting this out there on video. I know you said y'all live in a small town, and there's the chance of retaliation because it's a big government presence in your small town. So you're very brave. And I'm sure Kelly appreciates what you're doing for her. And I just want to thank you for coming on today. Do you have any parting words you would like to say to my listening audience, or to anyone that may be listening out there, Congress, whoever, the BOP?
I mean, I hope that there's, in the future going forward, that this is a little bit more out there to the general public, so that way we have more information, or just some type of awareness of what's exactly going on and how to get in contact, or make it a little bit more accessible for people like us who kind of just sometimes sit back and just see it happen underneath our eyes, because we're not aware of the injustices that are going on. And I'm just so glad for you and for your help for advocating for this, and to bring awareness to it, because without that, I wouldn't have even been in contact with you, and I probably still would have sat back and watched her. And who knows what's going to happen, but I'm just definitely happy for people like you. And I just hope in the future that there is a little bit more accountability and just accessibility to family members and of the loved ones, because those are the ones that also have mental anguish and just go through a lot, just trying to recover or just trying to just move on day to day. I truly feel my time in my life paused when she went away. So I always say like I'm in there with her because I'm not able to move forward because obviously that was our future and our plans. And so this definitely goes beyond just the inmate itself. And I just hope that a lot of people are aware of that and we just have more answers going forward, or at least have the availability to get answers going forward instead of being stuck.
And we want Kelly home because she doesn't deserve to
Yes.
be there.
No, oh yes, that's what this is all about. That's the main mission. That's the goal. That's what drives me, every day to just, and that's what brought me to you. I mean, obviously, just trying to find any type of information or anybody willing to at least listen. A lot of times we feel voiceless out here, but I'm starting to realize that I do have a voice, and hopefully it gets heard by the right person. To therefore can hopefully open the eyes and touch the right hearts, and Kelly will be home soon, God willing.
Well, thank you for coming on today and sharing your heart, Ricky. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. I see you're getting emotional, and I understand we've had some conversations. I know this is an emotional topic for you, and I appreciate you sharing your heart with my listeners. Thank you so much for coming on today, and I really appreciate you speaking out, and I know Kelly will as well.
All right, thank you so much.
So
I appreciate it.
much.